What up is Marcus Niceville Dads. We have the starts and we have the sits of the week. We're going to have running backs today. We'll go through some positions here. I can't wait till Thursday Night Football tomorrow. Woo! We have a DeAndre Swift signed jersey for anybody new to the channel. We're giving you that away when we hit 2K. We're going to be talking about three matchups that I love, three matchups that I absolutely hate. A lot of this is because of last year's data. I think last year's data will give us an insight of what the beginning of the season will look like. Defenses can change over the time with injuries and all that, and rookies starting to pose themselves into the actual starting lineup here. But let's go with week one, the bad first, and then we'll get to the good. Number one, defense, I guess, against, you could say, the worst defense was 83.5 yards per game. That is, so the worst, aka the best defense against running backs. The team that you did not want to see your running back face against was Tennessee. And Tennessee plays Saquon Barkley. Saquon Barkley, of course, has had a rough stretch of injuries the last couple of years here. And so I just see Saquon Barkley starting off fairly slow, especially with the New York Giants offensive line being still not great. I mean, you could see this being a 14 rushes for 40 yards and then 5 catches for 35 yards, like a 70, 80-yard performance. That's nothing great, nothing amazing. Probably not, you'd be lucky to get him in the end zone. He's not necessarily a big, huge bench, but somebody that we're definitely putting caution tape. I want to see volume. I want to see that over 12, 13 rushes in a game here, and if he has less than that, or if they really start easing him into the season, it's going to be a big concern for a long-term future here. But right off the bat here, I'm going to have him be a very big cautionary tale of playing against Tennessee, a defense that really stifled running backs last year. Number 5 is the Rams defense, the 5th best defense, 95 yards per game. Really, their last three, they let up 60 yards per game. They were dominating against the rush. We know that they have a great pass rush, but they were dominating against the rush. They are against Buffalo. This is I'm not touching a running back, hopefully not starting a running back. Singletary, Moss are out of the question. James Cook is the passing down back. But again, a rookie, so we don't know exactly what to expect. I'm trying to avoid this backfield as possible. There's a backfield that I would actually rather have. There might even be free agents in this backfield that I would rather start over any of these three running backs. So I am trying to avoid these three running backs if possible. Buffalo is just, I see this being a Josh Allen. Even him, I can see him running a little bit here, but Josh Allen, Diggs, Gabriel Davis, a little bit of Isaiah McKenzie, maybe even a little bit of Dawson Knox. This is going to be a passing matchup here for Josh Allen. I think he's just going to target the number 2 corner and just try to stay a little bit away from Jalen Ramsey here. The number 6 defense last year was the 49ers, and they have a 40.5 over-under, which is horrible, and Chicago is a 7-point underdog, so let's just put it that way. It's not looking good for Chicago. Chicago's offense is going to be brutal with the start. The 49ers are going to rely on defense. They're going to rely on being safe, especially the first game. I see this being a super low-scoring match, like 20-13. And really, do you want 13 points, the Chicago 13 points? David Montgomery, I think, is a big... If you can bench him, I would bench him. It's a horrible matchup right off the bat. I know that he's going to have volume. You might get, again, 20 carries for 60 yards, or 20 carries for 75 yards and no touchdowns. And I'm just not willing to have that in my roster. I'd rather have some of these passing down backs. And if you told me this is the worst matchup, the worst, this is the best player, you could say, that was drafted the highest, that has the worst matchup. Like, if you told me Dameon Pierce or David Montgomery, I've been a Dameon Pierce hater, but Dameon Pierce, I would rather actually start week 1 over David Montgomery, which is crazy, but that's what we're doing. The best matchups, I talked about Antonio Gibson against the Jaguars, 27 scoring defense, 31st in the last 3 games, led up almost 183 points per game on the ground. Antonio Gibson with very little J.D. McKissic as he's still recovering from ACL. We'll see exactly if he is 100% or not. And no Brian Robinson. I think this is going to be Antonio Gibson's show for at least the first week, and we'll see how many weeks into it until he starts fumbling it away. But I think Antonio Gibson, a great start here. In fact, Gibson over Montgomery pretty easily in this. Of course, I have to say DFS, Joe Mixon playing against the worst rush defense. Pittsburgh was the absolute worst last year at 144 yards per game. I'm taking Joe Mixon in DFS. I know that you're, of course, starting him, but this is just another example of a defense that really struggled last year. We'll see if the injuries and the recovery and stuff will actually help. Pittsburgh, it's also a division matchup, so you never know what to expect with that AFC South here. I mean, they get pretty brutal with Pittsburgh versus Baltimore and Pittsburgh and Cincinnati. This could be a bloodbath. Sometimes these matchups are. And number 29, this is the most important matchup because it's the Jets. They let up 138.3 points per game, or yards per game, not points per game. I mean, they let up a lot of points too. Baltimore's running backs are going to be likely Kenyon Drake and Mike Davis, which you can find on the waiver wires or super late in your drafts here if you're still drafting today or tomorrow. And so I am taking a lot of times Davis or Drake. I am starting them over, I know, a lot of the Buffalo running backs, which is a little bit, I mean, James Cook, you're drafting pretty high versus Kenyon Drake and Mike Davis, which you're barely drafting. And I'm already starting one of those running backs over James Cook here. And really, if you have David Montgomery, if they say, hey, we're giving the Mike Davis the ball, which we'll see. We'll see if that actually happens. But I see the both running backs being successful flexes here. So if you want to have a nice little late flex here, I think week 1, right off the bat, you have Mike Davis, Kenyon Drake. I think they're going to each have a successful week 1 against the horrible Jets defense. All right? This is Marcus Nice Simple Dads. Again, if you're new to the channel, please subscribe. When we hit 2K, we'll be giving it away to one of you guys. Peace out. Take care.